Coast to Coast AM. That's what you're listening to. Connie Willis here with you. Our guest tonight is Eric, the mind control guy. Just one more hour left. We're going to try to squeeze as much as we can in here of some of the stories. We understand, Eric, that you are a part of the MK Ultra project, Mars, M-A-R-S.
I guess Mars came after MK Ultra.
Okay, MK Ultra. Then the Mars was classified, correct? Tell me about that, but I want to get to your story too.
They're all classified. MK Ultra was from the Central Intelligence Agency, and the mind-altering research study was ran by military intelligence.
Oh, okay. And there were level 4 above top secret, or no?
That's what I was told. It was level 4 above top secret.
How many levels are there? 60.
I have heard as much as 38, and that was years ago, but who knows how far it's advanced today.
Yeah. And you know that for a fact that there's a lot of those levels. A lot of people in that industry say, no, there's nothing like that.
Oh, their first job is to lie through their teeth.
Right. And, they teach them how to do that. Yeah.
And, they say, we asked them and they denied it. Well, of course they're going to deny it. I mean, even through the Freedom of Information Act, you're not going to get, all the documents, the films, the videos, uncut, uncensored, unblurred, unobscured. They're going to give you a bunch of blackened out sheets of paper.
Yeah.
The real stuff, the first draft, that's buried in the bowels of the Pentagon somewhere. And somebody probably listening right now knows exactly where those documents and that footage is, because every test was recorded.
Mm.
And anyway, the one I was telling you about earlier, I started to tell you earlier about at the lake. Anyway, this one, when I started remembering this, there was something like a speedboat, and there was like a rope, a pretty thick rope behind it, and there was a platform, and there was a real-life looking human, except it was a mannequin dressed in military uniform, and they're not going at a fast speed, just kind of going at a slow speed, and Dr. Dirtbag was there, and I was sitting on the other side of the boat, and they had one of the Special Forces guys driving, and he looked at me, and pointing to the body out there on the platform, he said, "So what do you think about that?" I said, "Sounds pretty cool." About that time, this big old alligator came out of the water and chomped down on the body. I'm like, wow, that's messed up. And then this is where it gets kind of sinister, and I don't want to give you the full effect because I don't want to blow your eardrums out. But anyway, he looked at me and he goes, "Well, guess what? You're fixing to be in that position too." That man. Yeah, and I really toned it down. I didn't want to give everybody the full effect because I'd blow your eardrums out if I did.
Thanks.
But anyway, and then I came to again. Next thing you know, I'm on the platform, and the Special Forces guy, he's on the boat, and Dirtbag, he is on the beach on the sand. And
of course.
The lake. And part of the lake, they had the sand, the beach that the water comes together, and then a side over here which was kind of built up off the water, a few feet, probably I want to say maybe 4 feet, and then it had a grassy area and then the sand. Well, anyway, I remember looking up, and I was, the guy was driving the boat, patrolling around there, and next thing you know, this big old bull gator, which come to find out was about 18 foot long, and he jumped out of the water, and he clamped his jaws down, and he missed my foot by about 6 inches. And the guy said, "The hell with this," and he took off. He sped the boat. He just took off. And Dirtbag's going, no, keep up the test. Keep up the test. He's like, "I don't think so." And so he sped towards the beach, and at the last second he spun the boat, and it slingshotted me towards the beach, and the platform hit, and I rolled up on the beach. I was probably a good I want to say 20 feet up on the beach, and here I am wet. I got sand on me, and I sat up, and my hands were behind me, and I was kind of there in a daze. And about that time, the gator comes crawling up on the beach. Lunch got away, and he wants his lunch. Well, the security personnel, they took their M16s. They weren't shooting the gator. They were just shooting right in front of him, making the sand fly up in his face. And, an M16, anybody's ever been around one, makes pretty good sound. And so the sand was flying up in his face. The gator's like, huh? What's this? And he got a good glimpse at what his future was getting to look like. And so they just kept it up until he decided to go back in the lake and swim off. Well, it was about that time the Jeep come down the hill, and I believe it was General Benary. General Benary was in there, and there was this tension in the air that you could have cut with a knife. He saw me sitting there in the sand all wet. He saw the gator swimming away from the beach, and the special ops guy sitting there was smoking M16s. And he said, "What just happened?" And one of the guys said, "Sir, the cameras are still rolling. You might want to roll them back and see for yourself." And he just glared at Dr. Dirtbag, and he goes, "Oh, here we go again." And so the general, he wound the footage back, and he watched the whole thing for himself. And he just got irate. And General Benary, he was a big boy. And he went and grabbed Dr. Dirtbag by the scruff of the neck and dragged him over to the side of the lake where it was built up a little bit. And they threw something to get the gator's attention, and they got the gator to swim over by the ledge. And he grabbed Dr. Dirtbag by the back of the neck, and he shoved his face down the water. And every time the gator started coming up to bite him, he would pull him away. At the same time he did this, kind of like in a rhythm, he said, "What did I tell you about doing this to my troops?" And then he just flung him back. It would be like a great big wrestler, picking up a little kitty cat and throwing him. I mean, these guys had ungodly strength, but he just threw Dirtbag back, and he kind of tumbled on the sand there, and he walked over to me, and General Benary told me to stand up. And here I was in just a complete daze, and he brushed off my uniform, straightened up my jacket, put my cover back on my head, and he looked at me and he said, "Son," and this is where it gets kind of tough. He said, "Son, I hope this is one day that you'll never remember." And then he pointed to the guys in ops, and when they say clean them out, that means erase your memory. He said, "Clean them up, clean them out, take him back to his unit." And he pointed at Dirtbag and he goes, you just stay the hell away from me." And then the good general started walking away. He had his fists balled up on his hips, and his head was hanging down. He was just shaking his head back and forth. And Dirtbag couldn't understand what he did wrong. I just about ended up alligator bait, and that kind of stuff happened many, many times. Mm-hmm. He got out of hand. There was an event on a ship. Go ahead. So,
Eric, let me just stop you for a minute, because I'm getting a ton of questions coming in, tweeting this and that. And so I want to ask you some pretty quick questions here. Okay. Just some quick answers from you, and then get back to your stories. We also have some people on the line. So one of the quick questions is, you remember a lot of names, you remember specifically, and after they zapped you, how do you remember such detail? And not only how do you remember such detail, but do you feel good about saying everybody's name? You a lot of people want to hide that, but you're like, "Hey, no, here's the guy's name, here's what happened." So you're not afraid of throwing this out there?
No, because when it started coming back, like I said, I didn't know what had happened to me. And in the few years that the majority of it came back, 04, 05, 06, and even into 07. I mean, every once in a while today I'll have, some memory of something because of something I saw on TV. But the majority of it came back in 04, 05, 06, and 07. And I was the most paranoid, scared guy you've ever seen. I was a lot like Mel Gibson's character when he played Jerry Fletcher in Conspiracy Theory. I was just looking around. I was just petrified. And I would see people that all of a sudden I was being eyeballed. I was being followed. And it got to where I say, you know what? I don't care. If you're going to get me, you're going to get me. But I'm tired of being afraid of you. I'm tired of being scared. I mean, I'm thinking this was way back when I was a young soldier in the service. You know, I got out in 1987, and then here it is all these years later. I mean, we went through the rest of the 80s, we went through all the 90s, and now here it is 2004, and there's been countless people who have gone into the service. They've gotten out. These people was involved in all kinds of highly sensitive classified stuff. All the guys that went into, Special Forces, Delta Force, and all this kind of stuff. And you guys are messing with me? Why? Because they did stuff that had it been known what was going to really go on, probably heads would have rolled. Congressmen or senators who okayed all this, boys, you got a lot to answer for. Or did you really know that this is exactly what they were going to do, or were you sold a bill of false goods? And what about the families of these troops that didn't make it through? The people that did die in testing because something went wrong. Matter of fact, when the project was shut down in 1990 because of the incident in the barracks, and the fellow I met at the truck stop, he's the first one that told me that, and later on Sergeant Gray verified it. And what it was, they had this young troop, he was full of that mind-altering junk, and they had him up before a simulated firing squad. Oh. He wasn't being executed. He thought he was being executed.
That's terrible.
And I guess he must have come to, or something, that he just got all messed up, and he went berserk, and he got a hold of M16 or something and shot up the barracks. And close to 30 people got shot, and that's when they shut down the project. But
wow. You know what? Eric, some of the things that I do is across the board. I study all the different subjects and have for years and decades because there's similarities. And the deeper you go, there's more similarities. And it's interesting, the story you just told, because about, a simulation of being in front of the firing squad. It's interesting because if you go back to Bud Hopkins and Dr. Jacobs, David, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's mind-altering, Eric. It's mind-altering that's doing this. Anyway, David Jacobs, if you go to him and you read their book, you read his very last book on Aliens Are Amongst Us, where they do regressions. They had pulled up, it's in the very last book. A lot of people, I don't guess they've read that or got to that point, because I think it's a huge deal. And it's just like what you said, the people had done to him. They were, the aliens were actually taking the abductees and putting them in fear situations and seeing how they would react, and also having them put in their friends, actually having abductees learn how to do it mentally to their friends and put them in these types of situations, just like what you're talking about. It just coincides so much. That's why I had to ask you, was there ET involved as well? Now, just real quick before you answer any of that or get back to it, a lot of you guys are asking, where can I learn more? You can if you go to Facebook, he just put together a group. It's called Eric the Mind Control Guy, Eric the Mind Control Guy. And it's a public group. He just put it together like today or yesterday. So jump on in, join in, and that's where you can learn more and ask him more, because I know that not everybody's going to get to talk to him on the phone. So I got another question for you, but let's head to the phones. Let's go to wildcard line number 1, Daniel out of Gilbert, Arizona. Daniel, you're on the air with myself and Eric the Mind Control Guy. How are you?
Doing great. Fabulous show. Greatly appreciate it. Yes. I'm a TI as well. Father served in Korean conflict as well. I have a question, one statement and a question. I'm convinced that a lot of the active shooters are being targeted with light wave modulation voice to skull equipment. I've elaborated before on the radio about this. I want the most important thing for the Coast to Coast family is that a biotech student from Berkeley asked, what does it feel like when this equipment's pointed at you? What it feels like is that your equilibrium's off, like you maybe had 3 beers. And if it's really close to you, what it feels like is that there's a rows of rolling pins under your feet, rolling forward and backward. So the U.S. government might not want to have light wave detectors in the classrooms and in the police cars and tell me to go here and go there when I say here's a solution to this. But I want everybody individually to know that if you're in a mall or you're in a school and you feel that there's rolling pins underneath your feet, you need to get out of there immediately. Get into a car, get into the bus, grab your family and loved ones by the back of the collar and just leave that place. Number 2, my question is, God bless you, Eric. 55 countries in China are being boycotted for the manufacturing of weaponized biogenetic mind control. Hey, Tom from La Jolla, Cornelius, the rest of you celebrities, God bless you. I need you to look at that list right now, or when you have time, because when you research that list, you'll find the technology is called MEMS biosensor cantilevers. A lot of countries have this. China has it, United States has it, Russia has it. China's not the big mind control bully. This technology is airborne, and it needs technetium-99M radioactive property as a conduit, kind of like if you put chips and CPUs on a motherboard. If you put petroleum jelly on that board, the board will fire up and work. So like a Wi-Fi network or electricity, those cantilevers, they need the technetium-99 in the area so the broadcast signal can work.
Daniel, we got like 30 seconds, so do you have a question for him?
My question is actually for Lloyd Austin at the Pentagon right now, because I know the government.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for calling in, Daniel. Sorry to cut you off. Good information. Appreciate it, but just time-wise, we've got to wrap it up. Do you have anything to say about what he was talking about, Eric?
Well, it's not surprising. A lot of the stuff that he was mentioning, I was never familiar with the technical terms of the various drugs and microchips and stuff like that. But I do know this was back in about 2008. I was on Coast to Coast, and a guy got a hold of me on YouTube, which I actually have a YouTube channel by the same moniker. And he asked me, he said, "Were you on Coast last night?" And I go, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm Eric, the mind control guy." And we got to talking, and he said after that they had perfected in this all these years of doing research, they came up with a thing called MARC, and it was mind-altering relay chip.
Okay. Well, we will come back and ask him about that. Time flies, I'm telling you. We've got one more segment left. We'll see if we can't catch some more people on the phone, but trying to get it all in. More to come here. Eric, the Mind Control Guy. You can find him on Facebook and YouTube. And more from me, too. Connie Willis here on Coast to Coast AM.